Hi, I'm Tracy Sofra and welcome to the Women of Wealth podcast, dedicated to helping women achieve financial independence and thrive in every area of her life. Today I'm going to be chatting with Larissa Rusca. Larissa is a member of the WOW Women community and she recently completed the financial confidence program, the Empower program. And I asked Larissa to join me today and share her experiences with us. So I'm really looking forward to having this chat with Larissa. Larissa, just to start off, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what your financial situation was? What was it like before joining the Empower program? And really highlight to us how you were feeling emotionally, some of the thoughts that were running through your mind.
Thanks, Tracy. Well, I'm 57 years of age, and when I decided to join the program, I'd say I was in pretty dire straits with respect to my financial position. That was because I had recently undergone a really difficult separation, and actually that's still playing out. That separation, the issues there were a number of financial structures that I had no understanding of. Our 27-year marriage really saw a clear separation of roles, which I was voluntarily a part of. I ran the household, I worked, I ran 3 children. My husband is we're both professionals, but he has a really big professional role. So I was needed to do those things. Having said that, tried to keep my career going. And the big thing in the mix is our middle child has profound disabilities. And so caring for him is sort of equivalent to caring to probably 3. So I had separated. I had Nicholas with these extraordinary challenges, 2 on either side, and absolutely no real financial know-how. I'd entrusted in my marriage and did my part. And in fact, what spurred me on to join is I had a letter from my husband's lawyers really laying out a case of an agreement and asking me to come up and sign that off by Christmas. And I think there were 4 weeks to go till Christmas, or 2 months to go. So that's where I was, Tracy. And I haven't talked about the emotions, but fear, overwhelm, a cloud. It felt impossible and, very difficult.
So thank you for sharing that, because that can't really be easy from so many angles, and can't be easy sharing that again, and particularly while you're still going through it. But can you share with us, before joining the Empower program, what was your biggest fear when you thought about your retirement years? I'm guessing, did you think about your retirement years while you were still together? And probably maybe not. And then post-separation, what did that all look like? What was the biggest fear there?
So I didn't think about it before the separation at all. And I didn't have a clear plan or a vision. It's interesting to speculate why, and that's something I do think about now. I guess I'm someone who I was born with an eternal optimism and a lot of energy and the capacity to work hard. And I've been really blessed with the roles I've had. One thing I never reneged on was education. So I am extremely well educated, and as a result of that have been able to keep my head above water with my work. And I thank goodness I never gave up working, no matter how hard things were at home and with caring. I just did it all. So one of the things I realised just before joining Empower was I had no vision and no plan for my retirement. And I've heard you talk about security and clarity, and actually, it was clarity that I needed first and foremost, a plan and clarity. And I felt very, very stigmatized because I was a woman and I work in a man's world and I've led men in my roles, and I just did not want to talk to any man about this, not
What,
one.
what do you do, Larissa? Can you share with us and our listeners? What do you do?
Sure, I'm a general practitioner by trade, and but I also during general practice I found that load very onerous with the nurturing of patients and the nurturing of my son. So I started working for large not-for-profits, worked through up to an executive, led marketing, research, medical education, liaison teams. I then moved into board work while doing the other things, chaired a number of boards, chaired the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners for 6 years, took over from Christine Nixon. So yes, I understand how to look at financial reports and worked at, across the FAR committee, but I never was my own CFO and never looked after myself. And I was constantly in service to organisations, service to patients, service to directors, service to executives, service to patients, service to my family.
And never to yourself.
So it was a big wake up. No.
Yeah. So in a word, that biggest fear before joining?
I think the biggest fear for me was just a complete unknown and this muddy, complete lack of clarity. And that, my biggest fear, Tracy, and I worked those things out through doing your program. This was so important. I felt that I was incompetent, a complete idiot around finances because I'd never managed them myself. So my fear was around my ability to do this.
Even though, can I interject here, even though you are running, high-end CFO, all of that, and you felt incompetent about your own personal abilities. Yes, and isn't that funny? Yeah. So what motivated you to start thinking seriously about investing for your retirement?
Tracy, look, to tell you the truth, it's the program. It's the program that got me on my feet. When I first heard you, and I think it was on Insta, you just spoke directly to my situation. I felt that you were particularly able to provide the financial literacy and education. So that straight away was something I could respect, given my own background and my understanding that the way out of this was to educate myself. But it needed to be in a supportive environment, and it needed to be appropriate for my situation, which is I'm not 20 with, 30 years ahead till I'm 30. I'm in my late 50s staring down retirement. And I also know that you spoke also about women being in really difficult circumstances, whether it's through divorce or death or other situations. And I really felt comforted, and I thought this would be right for me. So my first port of call was to stave the lawyers off, try and avoid engaging in any conversations with anyone, because I knew that's board 101. Don't make decisions until you're clear and you understand what you're talking about. So I got straight on the program, and that's where, and you might ask me this question, and I think it's a really important one, that's where I started to understand first and foremost myself. Why on earth did I think I was incompetent? Why was I so fearful about managing my own finances and money? And I found that out.
And what was that? What was that?
So for me, it was the money mindset, and it was looking to my parents. So just recently I was listening, there was a member you spoke to, and she said, I listen to every single podcast, I listen to everything. I do the same. I'm not there often because I work in clinic late and I work long hours and I need to, but I listen to everything the next day, and if I can't access the recordings, I'm soon on to Jay saying, where is it? So a lot of my listening to those supplemented the program, and it was some of the things that you said around how the messages from your own parents that were key. And so when I looked at my parents and I wrote down, I reflected and I wrote down about my mum and my dad, Sadly, I had to put 0 next to my mother. A big 0. She never talked to me about money. She never taught me about money. She was wonderful in many ways, and I've got a lot from her. She was also from a war-torn country, and I think probably traumatized and erratic. So she was either a hoarder or a spender. I never saw her save. My father, being the opposite from another war-torn country, was frugal and managed everything. So I had chalk and cheese, but he was in charge of the money. And he never taught us, my sister and I, anything either. He was a good man and they were good people. But I had like the extreme example of a woman who just spent or didn't, but had no responsibility and refused responsibility actually, and never taught her daughters anything, and a father who did all he could to manage the household appropriately, and they did okay. And that's how it was. So I had no financial literacy.
Isn't it funny that's how it was? Highly likely your mother's generation and our early upbringing, our generation, that one day you will get married and someone will look after you, was the story told. But in any event, it was the story told. But it doesn't stop us from taking responsibility for our own well-being and financial well-being. If I can talk about some of the tools, some of the financial strategies or tools, what were they that you learnt that made the biggest difference for you through the program? Is there anything specific you can think of?
Oh, there are. Yes, absolutely. So the first thing is when I first spoke to Taryn, she and I understood. I didn't even know what my income was because I've worked as an employee, a board director, salaried consultant. So I had all these different streams of income coming in. But if you asked me what was my income, what was my taxable income, I couldn't tell you. So the first fantastic exercise was that cash flow. It was the actual table. And it's had to have quite a few reiterations. So that was number one for me, just crystallizing that and understanding that. The next was also just, again, the complementary stuff between listening to the Q&A, the podcasts and the program, setting up my accounts. So that to me, like managing accounts, that's not something I did. So, setting up all new accounts, setting up those different buckets. Then I got to insurance, but there were two things that you said to me. One that resonated very, very strongly. You asked me, what do I want once? And it was interesting because I thought about that for 12 months and I realised I had to buy a house. I used various tools and the program to assist me. So I bought my own home. I negotiated the sale myself. And negotiated a very small loan because I know I can pay that off in 1 year. I've set myself I just moved in a few weeks ago. That'll be paid off September 26th. So again, the cash flow is very important. And I've set up an emergency buffer. So again, this concept of an emergency buffer. So my loan's 150K and my emergency buffer is 150K. And I'm not only that, I was able to actually get onto the mortgage brokers and I sacked two, thanks to being empowered. They didn't actually answer my questions in a satisfactory way. And Tracy, so I'm able to ask questions because of this program, the right questions. Life insurance, a big one. It was tied up in the SMSF that is still under negotiation. And you said to me, this was the second big thing you said to me, go and find out if you can move it out. Well, I successfully moved out $2.7 million worth of life insurance, mine, for the same premium. And I wouldn't have done that, Tracy. I would have let it go because no one was giving me any good advice. But your program did.
Yeah.
List goes on.
well done to you, because if I can make a point there where you were talking about asking the right questions, the whole purpose of Empower is it lives up to its name. It's to empower each and every woman that comes into contact with the program and the community to get to a point where they can sit at the table and ask the questions, to be confident enough to say, you know what, I might know everything now, but I've got this. I've got the basic foundational knowledge where I'm comfortable and confident enough to say, hang on, can I just pull you up on this? Or what about that? To be actually aware of these things and to be able to navigate it on your own is life-changing. And, you know, you've just confirmed that. Can I talk about the mentorship and the coaching provided within the program? How has it helped you guide your decisions?
The first thing, Tracy, is it's been so supportive. And again, I probably think it's because it is a female-centric approach. I really struggled at the start to get my cash flow done. It was months of struggle. It was a mental block. I didn't know where to find all the numbers. I couldn't find the numbers. Didn't know who to ask to find the numbers. And this is where I found the backing of this program fantastic, because I was allowed to take my time and no one talked down to me or told me off or became impatient. So I'm grateful to all. Taryn was great with me. So that was a really important tool, having that extra session with her. I think the other part is also just hearing all the different scenarios and situations on the Q&A. I can't begin to say, I've taken notes from there. I'll stop what I'm doing to scribe things. I'll re-listen, because there are just so many gems around both the advice that you're giving and then really translating that into my own experience. So I found that to be really fantastic as well. I mean, the list goes on. Your podcasts, negotiating, just finding the right accountant. You know, I remember you talking about what are the sorts of things, I could say the same about a GP. What are the sorts of things you should find in an accountant that make it work for you? So again, those sorts of things have been really, really helpful.
So can you share an example of a key, say, financial insight or a light bulb moment that had a major impact on your planning?
Look, there were many. I haven't even mentioned super. So I was completely woken up to the importance of super and the power of super. So it has allowed me to stand firm in very difficult negotiations around our joint SMSF. I quickly opened up my own super, and within a year I managed to accumulate about 70,000 through very stringent work, and I've been fortunate to be able to do that. But it's impacted me to the degree that I took all of this and started talking to my own daughter. So what is more empowering than going a next generation? And my daughter Greta, she was also, interestingly, suffering a bit out of this separation, and notably around her own financial confidence. And we can talk about why. But just taking all the information around even the assessing super. So I moved super accounts. I, again, asked all the right questions, was able to. The way that I monitor my super and monitor all my accounts, so like being on it, being present, checking things, being, not checking things. So again, this all comes out of the program. Yeah.
So your approach to saving for retirement has literally changed.
Completely. I wasn't saving for retirement, and I didn't have a retirement plan. Now, at the moment, because of the program, I've got the wisdom now to say things like, well, this is what I'll be talking about with Taryn, looking at my cash flow. What's my loan repayment strategy? And how does that fit into my next investment step? So I'm on the precipice of wanting to invest now. So, and it's really interesting because I'm listening to the stocks and property discussion, and I'm looking at my age and stage. And of course, doing my risk profile was really eye-opening as well, and having done that. So it's the way that all the threads come together, and I'm able to feel integrated in this program. Like, it's not just looking after super or looking after investments or trying to buy a home or understanding your cash flow, where I still think I've got a lot of room for improvement. But in any case, I feel supported. So it's that integration.
That's
important.
brilliant, the way you put that, the integration. And if I could just mention, as Larissa has spoken numerous times about the cash flow for all our listeners, and I say this every single time, your wealth lives or dies from cash flow. Cash flow is the pinnacle. It's where everything starts. It is what is cash flow, what's coming in and what's going out, and understanding what's coming in and what's going out, and being able to navigate, is there a surplus? And if there is a surplus, what are we doing with it? Because clearly, if you're not aware of your cash flow, the surplus is getting spent. 10 years goes by, you look back and you think, what the hell just happened here? Or you get all over your cash flow like you have through the program, and your cash flow is something you need to be all over all of the time. It's not a set and forget for life. It is, I've looked at it now, I've got my head around it, and it's just a continuous cycle of reviewing it on at least a weekly to monthly, particularly at the start of the program. So I just wanted to share that with our listeners, just in case they're wondering. Larissa keeps mentioning this cash flow, but what is she talking about? And Larissa's gone on to explain how she's used her cash flow to then organise her banking structure, because you have to set yourself up for success. It's not going to happen by itself. So I just wanted to share that with our listeners. If I could just move on to, were there any misconceptions or fears about retirement planning that you were able to overcome through the program?
Look, yes, Tracy, there were. One of my fears, well, firstly, your listeners will understand that I didn't even understand what retirement was going to look like for me. So the first thing was understanding how much I'd need, and the program helped me do that. And obviously that's an adjustable number, but it at least allowed me to set a yearly target. The next thing was actually understanding how super works, and, the allocated pension, and even the rules around super and how to contribute. So because of the program, I've been very confident about understanding non-concessional versus concessional. And I'm not on a salary, so actually it's up to me. So I was able to work out the total that I'd like in my super at retirement, but working out now how long I need to work for and in what capacity. So I'm going to work pretty well 4 days a week till about 67, 68. And my profession will allow me to do some extra work and consulting till about 71, 72, because I think you make a great point, and that is I enjoy my work and it's valuable work. And it really allows me a little bit more of that runway that I need for super. So the super part of the program, Tracy, has just been absolutely eye-opening. And I've really valued a lot of the information, and it's allowed me to be really proactive now with my super. So
I'm glad that it's, we've lifted the veil on super and been able to present it in a way that's easy to digest and crystal clear. How would you describe the Empower program to someone who's just starting their retirement planning journey?
Look, I would say that if someone's starting their retirement planning journey, the program is absolutely perfect for them. What it will do is it will give them, firstly, a really safe space and a collegiate space where they'll be supported whether they know zero or they know a little bit. So the program caters both to people, I think, who have a good starting position and more, and really wants to extend it. The information's very current, so I haven't heard anything that's out of date. And you know what? It's Australian. So this is the context we're in. So we need to understand what's available to us here, and what retirement planning looks like here, not in the UK or the USA or somewhere else. I think you get so much more than retirement planning, by the way, and it's relevant to the age and stage that most of us might find ourselves in. The longer the runway, so Tracy, I mentioned my daughter. I mean, for me, I wish I was hearing this stuff in my 20s. And so Greta has joined. She's 26. And I wish her well, because if she listens to everything we're talking about now, imagine where she could be.
The sky's the limit for her.
Sky's the limit for her. She's got such a runway. I mean, this is something I do worry about, how little runway I have, but then I feel calm because I just engage with the work and the program. And one thing I will suggest to your listeners or audience who join or are thinking about it, when you are feeling really overwhelmed or confused, just stick a podcast in your ears and go for a walk. That's what I used to do. It gives you clarity.
That's great. Yeah. It's good to know. Yeah. Tell me, Larissa, where would you be right now if you hadn't invested in the Empower program? Where do you think you'd be?
Tracy, there's something really important. It's not just me. This program's affected my family. I mentioned my son. So not only was I dealing with this, but I was dealing with the NDIS breathing down my throat. And I was very fearful and unclear about that. What the program helped me to do was cost Nicholas out objectively. So I went through a costing exercise. And I will share for this audience, I cover the nights, and Nicholas needs a lot of night care, and my ex-partner does help. But daytime care, Nicholas was costed out at $330,000 a year. That's what it costs to care for Nicholas. Wow. And I was able to advocate, and we were able to, I reapplied for a new plan, and we have had Nicholas funded to that tune. And as I said, that doesn't involve his night care, which is quite significant. So the program's given me the confidence to take on the NDIS and really advocate for my son before we all get old and exhausted and, we're just not able to look after him at all. And I don't want to leave that burden to my daughter and his brother. And so the program's really important in allowing me to get secure myself, and also to help my children. And I am helping my children as a result, as you've heard. Yeah.
That's extraordinary.
I don't know
Larissa.
what else to say.
Congratulations on achieving all that and passing down the baton to the next generation. I mean, you've listened to all my podcasts and throughout the Q&A and the program. I keep saying they're watching us. Make no mistake, they're watching us. Let us be the change that we want. And let us, pass that down to whoever's watching.
That's right.
So that is absolutely brilliant. I guess you've sort of answered my last question. What advice would you give to other women considering joining the Empower program?
Look, okay, the first thing we look at, which might be a barrier, is always cost. And I just want to say, and that I've signed up now for life. Yep. Because I appreciate the value of this outlay in terms of how it's been able to give me so much more in every other way, and hopefully the family around me as well. So I don't think that cost should be a prohibitor at all. And if anyone's sort of sitting there going, "Oh, will I get my money's worth?" Yes, you will. Not only that, you'll be supported appropriately to do that. So I would strongly encourage people to sign up and get going, because as soon as you do, you're just putting one foot in front of the other to reach for that future that you want. So fully support and encourage it.
Thank you so much, Larissa. I want to thank you for sharing your experiences. Really coming from the heart, what it's sort of feeling like. It's not easy to share these things, and I thank you for that, and it's an absolute privilege, to support you in that way, obviously. And as I always say, WOW doesn't sell programs. We're about a movement. We want to change the way women feel about themselves, their ability to make financial decisions. And then if they're confident and clear about making financial decisions, they take control of their own lives, and controlling your own life is where it's at. Sometimes when I say things like money is power and whoever's got the money's got the power, and I think sometimes people probably think, gosh, that's a bit harsh, Trace, but ain't that the truth?
It's true. Yeah. It is the truth, Tracy,
Yeah.
and I'm glad you say it.
Yeah, well,
we need to hear it.
I'm old enough to say it now, maybe not 30 years ago, but old enough now. Thank you so much for your time, Larissa. It's been an absolute joy and pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Trace. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. If anyone listening to this podcast would like to explore what our Empower program can do for you, then make sure to book a call with one of our strategists. We're really here to help you navigate your decision making, align it with your long-term decisions and goals that can protect you financially. You simply have to go to wowwomen.com.au and click onto our programs. Best of all, the strategy call is totally free. If you found today's podcast helpful, please share it with a friend, leave a review, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And until next time, take control of your wealth and your future.